a radio hour. I don't know. It just feels right.
Building tradition into it.
Yeah, and that, yeah, exactly. Bringing that, I feel like there's some pianos that have a radio built into them, actually, if you go back and check on some of them,
Right.
some crazy ideas.
If you
All
make
right.
me a co-host, I'll
Oh,
watch
oh yeah, for
participants.
sure. Will do. Okay, so I'll start letting people in and I'll turn on, there's a little noise.
Excuse me.
Perfect there, and then admit all. All right. Rock and roll. Good to see everyone here. Back again on Piano Tech Radio Hour. We'll get rolling in here in a minute and let everybody get settled. Have a fun show today in my hometown focus of Chicago. That's where I usually come beam in from, if you didn't realize that. I see we got Thomas Zells joining as well, Caleb. That makes sense.
I better be on my best behavior here and not reveal any secrets.
Yeah, no trade secrets here of the of the pianoforte disposition. But yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, it looks like most of our early joiners are rolled in here. So I'll get started. And Morgan, I think you mentioned, if you want to rearrange any of the conversation topics or something directly in that doc, you could do so. But in the meantime, I'll give an intro and we'll roll with what we got. So everyone, hey there, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. And we gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, helping each other and creating an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And today's episode, I will introduce our guest, Caleb Crockett. But first, let me bring on Spotlight the co-hosts, myself and Morgan Cowell, coming to us live from I always forget the name of your state, but then I remember it right away, Nebraska. And then our guest today, Caleb. Let me get him up here. Boom, let's get that spotlight. Yeah, there's Caleb.
There we go.
And Morgan's gearing up for his trip to the PTG convention. So he'll be getting on a flight right after our session today, getting there early to help set up and get things rolling. And I will not be there myself, but one of the technicians that's on my team in New York will be. His name's Adam Holmes, and he will be taking his tuning and technical exam while there. Keeping my fingers crossed on that. But if anybody wants to give him a hand, give a look over his techniques and stuff like that beforehand, let me know. Or if you just want to hang with him and show him the ropes, he's kind of a newer technician with the past couple of years. But let me introduce our guest today. That's Caleb Crockett. Caleb is a piano tuner, musician, and audio engineer. Born and raised just outside Muncie, Indiana, he began playing piano at age 5 and developed into a multi-instrumentalist. As you can see in his background there, he's got quite a few different instruments there. He eventually relocated to Nashville and was working as a full-time touring musician from 2010 to 2013 with the band he co-founded. At age 13, Caleb began learning how to tune pianos from a family friend and full-time tech and occasional caught, Bob Eichhorn, who happened to be his guitar teacher at the time. Caleb has lived and worked in Chicago since 2013, is the owner of Chicago Piano Tuners, and currently does work for 3 Chicago area piano dealers, Loyola University, and is vice president of the PTG Chicago chapter. So Caleb, welcome to the program. It's great to see you.
Thank you. That list sounds a little ridiculous now that I'm hearing it out loud.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. I often am a reader of introductions. I have another kind of podcasty type thing, and
Yeah.
everybody's always like, "Whoa, okay, that's me." I guess I did a few
Right.
things in my life.
Right.
It's always good to have those moments. I'm curious, Morgan, you want to kick it off with the questions, or you want me to take the reins?
Well, why don't you give us, I don't know, there's something like in your bio that we missed, or something interesting, like 2 or 3 minute, that we
I
all
don't
learn
know.
different ways, right? Like some of us, like we start real slow, but some of us we kind of hop right in. Just get thrown on a concert stage, get told figure it out, or
Yeah, I wasn't getting thrown on a concert stage right at the beginning, definitely not. But I did get thrown into a lot of situations like, oh, can you help, join the moving crew, and can you, tune 10 pianos today, and can you do this, and and can you take this can of stripper and, strip the whole piano, and oh yeah, that kind of stuff. So I did kind of get thrown into a broad range of stuff when I was like, 15, 16 years old. So that was interesting. So it's I don't know, just it's part of me, I guess.
The easily abused teenage employee.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You got a lot to learn, kid.
And I did.
Nice. Well, that's a good first question, Morgan. I appreciate that. I want to get a little bit more into that kind of that world. We mentioned Bob Eichhorn was your first mentor.
Mhm.
And there was something about him being your guitar teacher too. How did that all evolve? How did you actually get started tuning and learning from him?
So he was a family friend already. So my parents trusted him, and 13 years old, you're not just letting people go hang out, unless you know them and all that kind of stuff. But he had a shop. There were a couple of other techs in town at the time, but not many. And so he kind of did it all for the whole thing. There was probably, a city of 70,000, and so he was doing most of it. And so I just started helping him to pay for the lessons originally. That's kind of how that worked out. And the lessons ended after like 6 months. I was like, yeah, I don't really care about classical guitar that much, which it was nice to learn. But he said I could keep working. And so I kept working, and I always did it. And at one point I thought maybe I'll go do something else. And I had different little jobs or, whatever. But it's like, man, I already know how to do this. I guess I'll just keep going.
Now, I'm assuming it wasn't that the guitar lessons ran out, and so there wasn't any way to pay you anymore, or did he start compensating?
Yeah,
you,
Yes, he started paying me. I remember it was like $20 for 3 hours or something.
Nice.
Which I guess that's close to minimum wage now, really. So
right.
I could pay someone right now $20 for 3 hours and get away with
it. Depending.
Right. Here, son, go do a pitch raise. Here's $10.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, so we got a little bit into the kind of work you're doing with Bob, kind of whatever was around, and that sounds like a really cool background. You've been a musician for quite a while here. You said taking lessons from the age of 5. You had that interest in guitar. You moved to Nashville.
Right.
And so in addition to, sounds like you've always had that piano technician mindset, right? Whether you were doing it or not actively.
Yeah.
But you've also had that musician mindset. So what's it like to live such a musical life and kind of pursue these various careers in the music industry?
Well, I'm different than everybody else that I grew up with. I suppose we were all out in the country, and they worked at factories, or they worked at, there's like a bean factory.
Okay. So this is something we had to have a plan B for. Caleb says he's got a brand new Mac computer. but for some reason it's stalling out on him. So I think we could just take a redirect here, and Morgan and I can have a coffee break here and chit chat. But we'll we'll see what happens when he should be back, I'm guessing, in a couple minutes. But in the meantime, Morgan, tell me about your plans for the convention there. Being someone who's heavily involved in the organization, it's not just about showing up. So yeah, what does it look like from your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's a big week. It's a big week. A lot of things going on. I'm on the institute team, which is it's supposed to be a 5-year rotation. With COVID and stuff, kind of messed a few things up here. But yeah, so we got to get the pianos unloaded. We got to put them in the right classrooms. We got to make sure all the moves are happening. We have to be mindful of the air in each room, right? That it doesn't change once the piano gets set in there. Because like Busendorfer's bringing in their big 9-foot, and they're going to tune it on Tuesday for a concert on Wednesday. And if it slips during the night, we're going to have Yamaha really mad at us. So there's a lot of like really fun logistics to work through. And we were going to do something by the pool, and so like Kawhi wanted us to use a different set of legs so we wouldn't scratch up the wheels, and all these little things that you don't think about, but make a huge difference in the convention and all that.
So you mentioned some of the protocols of, getting all the pianos in their appropriate places. And, because it's a, non-for-profit volunteer organization, like you said, with like rotating personnel, is there some sort of a handbook though for that? Or is it just passed on? Like maybe somebody on the institute team now is from a previous thing. I'm assuming you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, but maybe you do.
Yeah. Well, so 20 years ago, they would figure out all the classes by cutting out little cards and laying them out on the floor of a hotel room. Well, now we have Excel spreadsheets, right, that we can all look at together. So that's how a couple different, things there. There is a rough kind of template of how to do things, but within your rotation, you have a different job each year. So last year I was local needs, and this year I am what's called master of pianos. So, but I'm also the assistant director as well, because I'm having to jump up ahead of schedule. Not the Blutner, the Busendorfer. We don't have any Blutners coming at this convention, but since Yamaha owns Busendorfer, they're all kind of together.
Yeah, that's I think if we lose Caleb again, I think there'll be a lot to talk about on that topic. Sounds like we could have made this session about what the institute team kind of stuff as well. But let's bring Caleb back on. Hey Caleb, we forgive you for your weird computer issues. We were just talking about the PTG convention and what Morgan's doing for it. So we had plenty to talk about. So we'll have like
that's good.
It'll be like kind of one of those movies where they keep cutting between a couple different stories.
I like that.
Yeah, I like. And then in the end, it all comes together in some way.
Right. I apologize for that. That's what I get for using a computer I don't normally use.
I guess. Yeah.
So here's my laptop. We'll see how long this lasts.
Oh, okay. It's a different computer. Okay.
Different computer.
Maybe it's going to work a little bit better.
I sure hope so.
So like, yeah, we were talking about the musical life, and you were saying that, you had some friends, there's a factory, maybe some of them got involved there, but you're sort of living a different life. So yeah, continue. Definitely sounds interesting to hear about.
Yeah, I guess when I was a kid, I saw my cousin play piano. We were visiting them up in Michigan, and I'm like, man, this is so cool. And my grandma had a piano, so when we got home, she didn't live far away, and I was kind of playing around with it. And my parents put me in piano lessons, and so that started pretty early, because I think I really was like 5, and that's a good age to kind of absorb all that information, and kept going, learned how to play guitar. And I think one of the reasons I like tuning so much is because I could tune, and then if there was a gig, I didn't have to work if I didn't want to, and so I could go play a gig. And so I always kind of thought those things go hand in hand, like, oh, if a tour pops up, I can move my schedule around. Whereas my buddies, if they weren't quite professional musicians yet, oh, we got to ask Best Buy for, vacation or whatever. And it kind of limited what you could do that way. And so the two really went together.
Yeah, same here. It was nice to have some form of income when I got out of college and was like pursuing that music career. And it's also really, I mean, as we all know, but I think if you are a musician, especially, there's those privilege too of kind of like tuning for someone that you respect or that's famous or something like that, and getting to chat with them and hang out with them. So that's really cool. Yeah, Morgan, what I think you had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were looking. I was looking through some of the notes, and you had a comment about the human body is kind of the most important tool. And I know I've been abusing mine lately. I did 6 tunings this morning before 9 a.m. And Wayne was on earlier saying that he did, I think it was 186 tunings in the last 6 weeks. I did 9 pianos yesterday. I'll do about 200 in August or so, maybe even 250. And that's not sustainable, but I do know that it's really beating up. So what I'm telling you to do, or I'm asking you to tell me how bad I am on my body and how I should stop doing that. But then also just, ways, but the philosophy, right? Like we get one body, right? We can get 100 tuning hammers, but we only get one shoulder.
Right.
So talk about that a little bit.
So first of all, that's a lot of tunings. My goodness gracious. Is there anybody that can help you over there? I mean,
I have 6 employees, so
okay.
I'm trying.
Right. I mean, I've had a couple things happen that made me, I need to pay attention. Probably 3 years ago now, I was doing a pitch raise, and boy, did I hate this piano. And I couldn't believe I drove all the way out here to this guy's house again. And I'm just trying to get through it. And I felt something, and my shoulder wasn't right for like a year and a half. I mean, I still tuned, but I felt like I had to be really careful, and it's fine now. Everything's cool. But you're always hearing about guys that have to get surgery, and I knew someone that had to have, rotator cuff surgery, and it's like, okay, let's try to avoid that. When I was like 22 or 3, I had an ear infection that I kind of let go too long before I did anything about it. I've always had really bad allergies, so that kind of lends itself to blowing your nose and pushing all the stuff up if you blow too hard. I think that's what happened. Anyway, and I had one ear that just rang for a long time. I'm thinking, great, if I can't hear, okay, well, how are you going to tune? Thankfully, all that's in the past. I've got a good way of managing it now, but I always wear earplugs, even in the car sometimes. Like if I'm going to be in the car for a long time, I'm popping those babies in, because I've got a little decibel meter on my phone, and I'll just hold it there, and see, okay, this is loud enough that if you're in here for however long, it's gonna do something. And even in a loud bar, I'll which I'm not doing that much anymore, but earplugs are my best friend. I've always got like 2 pairs in my pocket, like always, because I'm just not going to take any chances with it.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, I lived in New York for many years, and that especially, waiting for the subway, riding the subway.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too, because I looked it up, and there were clear studies that just said the subway is loud enough to hurt your hearing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just, that's what it is. And then that they just don't care. That's how loud they're going to make it, and
people wear like headphones and pump the music even louder. So you're actually like making it twice as bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I probably mentioned it here once or twice. I had this thing that I would do is I'd put some earplugs in a little pouch with a little sort of contact info for Floating Piano Factory, my business. And I would, if I saw a musician especially, I would hand him this pair of earplugs, and say, hey, and it would say, the subway can damage your hearing, and contact info. But to your point, people say, "Oh, no, I have headphones. I'm not worried about it."
Right.
Like, okay. That is
Yeah.
that is not helping.
Yeah. My
Um,
mom's hearing is not great. I don't know why. So, it's like you only got one chance with that. Those little hairs inside of your ear don't come back yet.
mhm,
I mean, maybe someday they will, but
could be.
can't count on that.
So it'd be good to talk about the dealer topic. I know you work with several dealerships. We said we've got Piano Forte kind of representing here on the show, a local dealership in Chicago, and you said you work for Loyola, so which is a school. But tell us about dealerships specifically. How do you manage those relationships? I know there's a bunch of people out there who
We're
maybe
terrible.
don't want to work with dealers.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I'd say at the point I'm at now, I'm nobody's main guy. I mean, there's no way I could do that anymore. But hopefully when they ask me to do something and I can go do it, hopefully I'm, helping them. And we have to help them, right? Because if nobody buys any pianos, then everything's gonna, be going the wrong direction. So with Pianoforte, I live a block and a half away. So if Thomas texts me, "Hey man, can you blah, blah, blah," sure, it's right here. I mean, of course. And especially if it's the stage piano, it's a really nice piano. The other two dealers, it's different. So I'm doing something different kind of for each dealer. And the other dealer that I'm working with, I used to be there 3-4 days a week, and I gradually have had less and less time to go over there. But again, I'm hoping I'm helping them when they call me. And with them, it's actually sometimes it's like a consulting thing. They've gone through a pretty big transition the last couple of years. They lost some members of their family. It's a family-owned business, and so just trying to do anything to kind of help them get through that and find someone that can help them and that kind of stuff. But it's all a balancing act. I don't think any of them I'm ever there every single week, putting in a ton of time, but
And they don't care that you work for different dealers. They don't mind that you've worked for several different brands.
I guess not.
Interesting.
Thomas, did you have something to say about that?
Oh, no, we don't care at all. I'd say it's fabulous. The only exception being Steinway, because they care
Right.
about technicians who work for us. They try to stop them, and that's not ethical, but whatever.
I
say
I almost dipped my toe in the water with Steinway a little bit a few years ago, and I don't think they liked this hat or something when I came in, and so even though they liked the tuning, it didn't really go anywhere.
well,
But
we like the tuning better.
all right.
I like the hat, by the way.
Thank you. It's not just a pose. I love Mopar.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like around here, like you do like all the warranty tunings and stuff for some of the dealers,
Mhm.
and then you're like establishing those client bases, and working with those churches, and
Right.
If like a private client then like asks you like, where can I get a piano, at least around here they want you to be like rather territorial,
Right. Yeah,
but
it depends on
it's
where
cool
they
that you're able
live.
to do on both things. That's neat. That speaks to maybe just like your ability and just kind of your openness, rather than maybe like a more capitalistic side or more of a, I don't know, a tribal thing.
Well, Steinway, yeah, I think of the piano companies, they're a bit more possessive and territorial, provincial. I don't know how you want to call it. It is an interesting strategy. There's things that I guess probably worked about it. People do seem to kind of be tiring of it. I will say, I was able to talk to someone at Steinway recently, and was talking through some of those things about what, like, apparently they're doing something where they want people to be, they want their pianos to be tuned by Steinway technicians. And I believe that what that means is maybe not as intense as it seems that it means, meaning like you could become a Steinway technician just by kind of getting on their list of technicians, and then they sort of, you just make sure they vet you and that you're cool, and then they'll, send business. But I wasn't quite clear if there was also on the path of that, which, Thomas, it sounds like maybe there is. Yes, but we'd also like you to only tune for us. I don't know, in terms of dealers.
If I were a piano technician, I'd be a little bit insulted by that approach, but I'm not. So
yeah, I mean, there are some issues too with contract work and the your ability to ask somebody to do that, to be honest.
But that being said, if they provide training, then that's different, because training is something that has value, and that should be, ultimately you should compensate someone a little bit, at least in the long term, for good training. So I'm not knocking that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the sort of working for dealers, Caleb? It sounds like you've kind of worked out something that works for you, and you get to try out different places and build different relationships while still building your own practice.
It's just fun. I mean, it like, because this job, for most people, you're by yourself all the time. So if you're working with a dealer, you almost feel like, oh, I have like a job, and so like you could say hi to people, and so that's, I like that, but I didn't expect for that to happen, I guess. I don't know, it just kind of happened, but it's hard to say no to Thomas. He's just a nice fella. So, I like being around people that are friendly and all that kind of stuff, because there's some people that are kind of grouchy, and I don't understand that. So, if you're grouchy and you call me, well, sorry, I can't help you. Like, that's just, so the people that I'm working for are real down to earth, and that part's nice.
It makes a big difference who you work for too, because there are different dealers, right? There's some that'll do a quick flip. I worked for one, and then I went to go do a tuning, and I realized that the piano was a half step flat when I got there to do the warranty tuning.
Right.
Like you didn't even, this guy didn't touch the thing at all. Like maybe polish the pedals and then send it back out. So
right.
Yeah, where you work at, who you work. So it's, sure, the paycheck is nice, but this whole industry is built on your reputation. So I think you got a really good thing working through. So that's great.
It's not bad. I can't complain, and I never, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be where I am right now.
That's great. What's next? What's the next big thing?
What's next? That's a great question. I mean, I'm still a musician. I have a 17-year-old sister who is amazingly talented singer. So I just started working with her. I knew she was talented. I didn't know how ridiculous it was, though. And so I said, okay, we got to make an album, and, let's try it again with her. And she actually has a chance, because she's so good. So just did a song with her the other day, and it was almost like too easy, because, it's not, oh, sing that again. You missed a little thing, or you sang off key. It was just like, wow. Okay. So, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback from my industry friends and that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. But again, that's why I'm tuning. If I need to leave on the weekend and go on tour, that could still happen, even though I'm getting old. I'm 35 to be on a tour bus, but I'd do it for a couple of years.
You do any shop work or anything like that, or action jobs? Or
that was one thing I learned that I just didn't ever want to do again, was shop work. And I don't know if it was because it was Bob's shop and maybe there's better setups, but could have been that his air conditioning didn't work that great, and I'm just out there. It's 100 degrees, and so every time it's like, oh yeah, go polish this thing. And it's like, oh man, it just brings me back to that. But I mean, it wasn't all bad. But yeah, shop work. Most of the stuff I'm doing is on the spot. If it's going to take more than 4 hours, I pawn it off to somebody else.
Okay.
Sounds like you got to get your own little Caleb to push around.
Yes,
Your former self,
Yes.
right? You gotta continue the chain.
It's hard to find people. I mean, I've been kind of trying to find younger people, and it's just not. I don't know, because it's not like I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm paying for training for goodness sake, But
So that Chicago school closed, what was it, 5-6 years ago? Did that have an impact
think-
on
I
the
think
community
longer
out
than that.
there?
I
Yeah, I
moved
don't
here
remember.
right when it closed.
Oh, okay.
And so I actually would not be the person to ask about that.
Okay.
I should know. I was on the board, but I don't remember exactly how many years. It's
I-
been a few.
Yeah, because when I was looking into going into this, I looked at the Chicago school and then North Bennett, and then I think pretty closely thereafter, the Chicago one had shut down. Maybe
It was a
Scotland back up.
it was a really sad circumstance and unfortunate, and it had it had a lot to do with the fact that the accreditation agency that allowed the school to get student loans for the students basically shut down the accreditation of the kind of school that it was. They just said, we're not doing it anymore. And what they didn't realize is that it cost about $10,000 just to get to the accreditation. So having to redo all that with another agency just would have put the school out of business. Plus, it was a year when enrollment was down, and so everything sort of came together. And I mean, it was heart-wrenching because it was such a wonderful experience, and it certainly produced a few star technicians.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to hear that the full story on that. Yeah, I know that I'd heard about it, just that it happened, but I think the story of how and why and it's just kind of almost like a technicality that kind of brought it down. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think within that same span of time, we also lost the Ontario school and the school for the blind. I think all within a 3 or 4 or 5 year period. So there's a few more that have popped up, but maybe we can talk about that sometime, educational opportunities and, maybe ways of improvement or things like that. Because like, at least around me, I have a lot of people that are really interested in it and are wanting to get training and are getting training.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't get enough, but, like North Bennett can only fit so many people. It's not cheap to live in Boston. And the online stuff is popular too, but if you learn with more of a hands-on experience, that could be challenging, or no one to push you or no one to check your work. And so maybe not today, but that'd be a good conversation sometime in the future.
Yeah. And also a topic that came up earlier, I didn't say it out loud, but the kind of, health and well-being. We've talked for a long time, this sort of a topic of an Alexander technique being something that's beneficial not only for musicians, but potentially for piano technicians, just as a method of kind of keeping things going right and having the right posture and stretching and all of that stuff. So we really have never had that. And I think that's also something that we could put in here based on some of the conversation today. Caleb, I want to get a little bit more into your story here of like moving around, because you started in Muncie, you went to Nashville, you just mentioned like industry friends and your sister and stuff. That made me think of, you're kind of in the music scene there, but you moved from Nashville back to the sort of Midwest Chicago area, not back to Muncie. Tell us about this kind of moving around story. What was happening during that time?
Yeah, what was happening during that time? That was kind of blurry, right? You're a professional musician, and every night is, let's go out afterwards, right? So that was because you have to meet people. That was the excuse. I moved down there when I was like 22, something like that. I was there for like 4 years in Nashville. And my band had actually moved there without me. I didn't have enough money to move at the time. I was like 20, something like that, and saved some money, moved down. And we were pretty busy. I mean, we were playing at least 120 shows a year. This is while everybody had jobs and stuff. We met a lot of people. We did get some